At the same time, he was encouraging me to join him and work with him on sports betting. And basically, the gist was this. His boss was this fellow named Billy Walters, a very famous sports bettor, and he bets in the magnitude of $500,000 $1 million on a sporting event. It's very difficult for him to place such bets because it would move the market. So he needs to filter it through lots of different agents to carefully place the wagers. So he said if I were to open up an account with a bookmaker and give them access to that account, I would get a certain cut of money regardless of the results. Didn't matter. Just because I was letting them use my credit and use my account and my betting capacity, that was what they would pay me for. And so I decided through a friend to open up an account with an illegal bookmaker in New York. All bookmakers in New York are illegal. I did look into the matter. It's not illegal for a person to bet with a bookmaker. It's illegal for a bookmaker to run the business, but the person who bets with a bookmaker is a victim. So, I mean, I wasn't violating the law in any way. I will say my friend Pat Smith said, "Why are you doing this? Don't do it," repeatedly. And despite his best advice, I went ahead and did it. And in the first week, he won with the bookmaker $25,000. So I had to get him, $46,000, which I had. I mean, it wasn't my money. The bookmaker handed me a manila envelope stuffed with $25,000, and I had all this money in my account. And I come out to Vegas. He got me, I was on the way in from the airport. He's always offering me things. Can I do something for you? I'm on the way in from the airport, and in the billboards, they announced that the Go-Go's are having a concert. And I said to him, I'm embarrassed. I tell him, I'm totally embarrassed to be asking for this. And please don't tell anybody that I've asked for it. But if it's no skin off your back, if it's really no trouble, I'd love to get some tickets to see the Go-Go's. And he's like, that's so effing easy. He's like, why don't you ask me for something hard? So he gets me 10th row seats to see the Go-Go's. Sitting there, I watch Belinda Carlisle flash her girdle to the crowd, which she poked fun at herself in a very funny way. It was a very fun concert. The long story short is he loses with the bookmaker, but at the same time, at this point, in the first 2 weeks of September, I've lost an amount in horse racing that matches what I owe the bookmaker. So we agree that I'll pay the loss to the bookmaker, and he'll cancel out the debt that I owe him. Okay, so now we come to the climactic weekend. On that Monday, I'm slated to fly to Hong Kong for a month. And he knows this. And long story short, he's betting with the bookie. And on the Sunday morning, I'm going out for a Sunday brunch date with this girl that I'm very interested in. And it's minutes before I'm about to go on this date, and the bookmaker calls up and says, you're down to your limit, and your friend wants to keep betting. And I told the bookmaker, listen, I'm opening up this account. I'm responsible for it. Friends, mutual friends between me and the bookmaker vouch for me. The bookmaker says, you're up to your limit. Your friend wants to keep betting. What do you want to do? And I say, hold on, let me check. And I hang up and I call Peter. I say, hey, Peter, what's going on? The bookmaker called me. And he's like, yeah, we haven't done well in your account. If you can, raise the limit an extra X, we'll throw you an extra Y back.
What's X? And what's Y?
It's my limit. Basically, my limit had been $30,000, and he had gone over to something like 45, and he wanted to go up to 65. And here I was, minutes away from being late on a date that was important to me, with a guy who had extended me tons of credit, tons of times where I could have welched on him. The guy who introduced me to Louis Anderson, and Louis Anderson said he was a great friend, asking for something that by all tokens was not a big deal. And if I said no, I felt like all of a sudden I'd have a whole situation to deal with. And so I called the bookie. I said, let's go to 65. I'm good for it. And I go out on my date. Blow through the 65. And I say, okay, listen, I'm going to Hong Kong on Monday. I need to pay the bookmaker before I go to Hong Kong. And he's like, actually, I'm in New York, and I've got the money. I'll come meet you. And I call up the bookmaker and say, listen, I got to pay you before I leave for Hong Kong. And the bookmaker says, okay, well, this is short notice. The only place I can meet you is, the only place I can have somebody meet you is at 135th and Broadway, which is the middle of Harlem. I'm like, well, if that's the only thing you can do, we can do it. And so I'm juggling between meeting the bookmaker and having Falcone provide me the money, and he goes AWOL. No responses on any phone calls, no responses on any emails. It turns out that this fellow, Peter Falcone, is a convicted felon and was actually wanted at the time. I discovered this because when I had been in Las Vegas, one of the people he introduced me to was somebody who he called his Aunt Mary. And I contacted her, and she said, you didn't lend Peter any money, did you? And she's like, go to the New York State Department of Corrections site and search his name there. And sure enough, he's got a record, the whole thing. I think now he was just booking my action. And if I had won, he would have left town. And it would have been great for me. That would have been much better than what ended up happening.